When the BAA, the NBA's precursor, tipped off in 1946, teams could play zone defenses, but not for long. Midway through that first season, on January 9, 1947, the league outlawed zone defense. The goal? To prevent slow, packed-in defensive schemes that stifle defense and the impact of star players. Early pro basketball was often low-scoring and stagnant, and banning the zone was a move to open up the floor for more exciting one-on-one action. This ban forced teams into man-to-man defense, which many credit with making the game faster and more entertaining. This rule defined NBA defense for over half a century. By our 2010 baseline, the original zone ban was long gone, reversed in 2001 when zones were legalized, though a new defensive 3 seconds rule was introduced to prevent the paint clogging zones of old. The 1947 zone ban began the NBA's long effort to keep defenses from overly stifling offensive flow, a theme that continued in different forms through 2010. By 1951, Minneapolis Lakers center George Mikan was a dominant force, often camping near the basket. To curb this, the NBA doubled the width of the foul lane from 6 feet to 12 feet. This Mikan rule aimed to push big men like Mikan further from the hoop, making it harder to simply post up under the basket and encouraging more movement. Mikan's scoring average reportedly dipped, and the rule did open up the paint. This was the first of several measures to rein in dominant post players. By 2010, the lane had been widened further to 16 feet in 1964, so the 1951 rule was a step toward that modern standard. The Mikan rule established a precedent. No single player's dominance should overshadow the balance of the game, a principle visible in the 2010 rules that still sought to prevent paint congestion. 954 brought perhaps the most celebrated rule change, the 24-second shot clock. Teams now had to attempt a field goal within 24 seconds of possession. This was paired with a new limit on team fouls to eliminate stalling and deliberate fouling. The shot clock was a direct response to painfully slow games, like a 1918 Pistons-Lakers game in 1950, where teams held the ball for minutes. Syracuse Nationals owner Danny Biasone championed the 24-second clock, calculating it from typical game shots per 48 minutes to save the game from fan-alienating dreariness. The impact was immediate and dramatic. League scoring jumped about 17% in one season, from 79.5 points per team in 1953 to 54 to 93.1 in 1954 to 55. The game flow we recognize today truly began then. The shot clock is hailed as the rule that saved pro basketball. By 2010, the shot clock was still 24 seconds, the exact same duration. The 2010 NBA was playing the same 24-second possession game born in 1954, a testament to this transformative rule. The next significant lane adjustment came in 1964, when the NBA expanded the lane from 12 feet to 16 feet. This was a direct response to Wilt Chamberlain's overwhelming dominance. Widening the lane aimed to pull big men farther out, making it harder for players like Wilt to score at will in the paint. While Wilt still put up huge numbers, the wider lane was felt to affect his efficiency and team strategies. It also opened up more room for cutters. This 16-foot lane became the standard, the same width used in the NBA through 2010 and today. The Wilt rule ensured that even dominant centers in 2010 operated in a spacious lane, preventing extreme paint congestion and making room for the more athletic, driving style of the modern game. By 2010, the 16-foot lane was a fundamental aspect of court geometry. In 1966, the NBA reduced the team foul limit from 6 to 5 fouls per quarter, with penalty free throws beginning on the 5th team foul. Crucially, in the last 2 minutes of any period, a team would now only have 1 foul to give before free throws were awarded, a rule designed to prevent cynical clock-stopping fouls. This 1 foul to give rule for the final 2 minutes remained unchanged and was still in effect in 2010. The league also strengthened its anti-zone stance that year. A defender could not lurk in the paint for more than 3 seconds away from his man unless closely guarding an opponent. This was an early version of defensive 3 seconds, while by 2010, specific illegal defense rules from that era were gone, replaced by zone allowance and a formal defensive 3-second rule. The spirit of preventing paint-camping defenders from 1966 lived on. Also in December 1966, to deter hacker Wilt strategies, a new rule declared that any off-the-ball foul where the fouled player wasn't involved in the play would be treated like a technical foul, one free throw and possession retained by the offended team. This rule proved too punitive and was later relaxed, though by 2010 a version for the last 2 minutes of games, one free throw plus possession for such fouls, had returned to combat similar strategies. In 1968, the NBA addressed game flow and foul confusion. An injured player now had to be replaced or resume play within 20 seconds, or his team would be charged a timeout. This prevented teams from exploiting injury delays to rest or strategize, and by 2010, this rule was firmly in place, maintaining game pace. Secondly, the league clarified how to officiate fouls on loose ball rebound plays, especially when a shot doesn't hit the rim or backboard. If a shot was an air ball and a foul occurred during the rebound scramble, any foul by the offensive team would be treated as an offensive foul. No free throws, just a turnover, while a foul by the defensive team would be a common personal foul. This arcane-sounding rule was important for consistency, and by 2010, this clarification had long been absorbed into the rules, ensuring fair foul calls during rebound battles. Both 1968 changes remained in effect through 2010, helping maintain game flow and ensuring consistent foul calls. The year 1970 brought a minor but interesting scoring rules change. The NBA changed how missed free throws that were tipped in are credited. If a player missed a free throw and a teammate immediately tipped it in, the tip-in scorer now earned 2 points, whereas previously the original free throw shooter would oddly be credited with 1 point for the make. The rationale was simple: fairness and accurate statistics. By 2010, this rule was firmly entrenched, ensuring the stats reflected what actually happened on the court, a principle the NBA has kept ever since. Building on earlier changes, the 1972-73 season saw further refinement. The team foul limit per quarter was firmly established. No free throws would be awarded for common, non-shooting fouls until a team committed its 5th foul of the period. This bonus situation was aimed at curbing excessive stoppages. Players along the free throw lane could now enter on the shooter's release rather than waiting for the ball to hit the rim, increasing rebounding action. New rules also prevented abusing timeouts in the final minutes. Once a team inbounded in the backcourt during the last 2 minutes, it could not call a timeout until the ball reached the front court. Also, a team with 4 timeouts left in the 4th quarter could still use them all, but no more than 3 in the last 2 minutes, an early effort to avoid overly long crunch time stoppages. These changes aimed for a faster pace and smoother finales. The bonus rule became a standard part of basketball, carried through to 2010 unchanged, striking a balance between punishing excessive fouling and keeping the game moving. The tighter timeout rules in close games were a precursor to later timeout reductions, and by 2010, the concept of managing the clock under these restrictions was an ingrained part of late-game strategy. 1973 was a pivotal year of multiple rule changes that significantly impacted game strategy and flow, reinforcing the 5th foul bonus rule. Players other than the shooter were allowed to enter the lane as soon as the free throw shooter released the ball. When a player fouled out, teams were now given only 30 seconds to substitute a new player. The league also forbade calling a timeout once the ball was inbounded in the backcourt until the ball crossed the half-court line in the last 2 minutes, closing a loophole for advancing the ball. Additionally, if a team had 4 timeouts entering the 4th quarter, it could use all 4, but no more than 3 in the final 2 minutes of regulation. These 1973 changes collectively show the NBA consciously shifting toward a more free-flowing, fan-friendly game. By 2010, the bonus on 5th foul rule was still in place, and the groundwork for today's late-game timeout structure, which by 2010 was even tighter, allowing only 2 timeouts in the last 2 minutes, was set. In 1974, the NBA continued fine-tuning. Starting in the 1974-75 season, the NBA defined incidental contact causing a player to go out of bounds as a non-foul, with the offensive team retaining possession. This force-out rule aimed to address a grey area. The league also declared that if a team requests a timeout at the exact instant a period ends, that timeout shall not be granted. Building on 1973's rule, the restriction on calling a timeout after the ball is inbounded was explicitly extended not only in the final 2 minutes of the game, but also in overtime. Fines for certain unsportsmanlike acts increased, and a new rule addressed punching fouls. If players from opposite teams threw punches, the team that was last offended would get the ball. The force-out rule, however, proved hard to enforce consistently and was eliminated by 1976. By 2010, the force-out was long gone. The timeout at buzzer rule was maintained, ensuring clean period endings. The no timeout after inbounding extension was fully ingrained by 2010. The fighting penalty tweaks were early steps. By 2010, open fighting was extremely rare, with much harsher penalties like ejections and suspensions making specific possession rules moot. The 1976 ABA-NBA merger brought 4 new teams and influenced style. The 1976-77 season saw adjustments. The force-out concept was eliminated entirely. If pushed out, it was a foul or turnover. The league explicitly addressed defensive physical contact, allowing hand checking. A defender could use a hand or forearm on an opponent, as long as it did not impede the dribbler's progress. This codified a more physical perimeter defense. Additionally, teams in the last 2 minutes could call a timeout after securing possession to advance the ball to mid-court, and excessively swinging elbows became a violation. Eliminating the force-out clarified officiating and was maintained by 2010. Permitting hand-checking in 1976 led to a more physical style, but by 2010 this had completely flipped. Hand-checking was illegal. The 1976 rule was a temporary swing toward defense. In 1978, the NBA experimented by adding a third referee for the 1978 to 1979 season. The goal was better court coverage and call accuracy. However, after 1 season, the league reverted to 2 referees in 1979 to 80, deeming the 3-ref system too costly at the time. By 2010, the 3-referee system was fully in place, stemming from this initial 1978 innovation, permanently adopted in 1988, resulting in fewer missed calls and better coverage. The 1979-80 season was monumental. The NBA adopted the 3-point field goal at 22 feet in the corners and 23 feet 9 inches elsewhere. After testing it in that preseason, the Board of Governors approved, making it a permanent rule. The league also reverted to 2 referees after the 1-year 3-referee trial due to cost. In 1979, hand-checking and other illegal use of hands were declared fully eliminated, banned on defense in a stricter enforcement push. A technical foul was imposed on the first illegal defense, previously a warning. The coach's box was introduced, limiting coaches to a 28-foot area on the sideline, and shattering a backboard became a technical foul with ejection and likely suspension. The 3-pointer was transformative. By 2010, it was a staple, fundamentally changing strategy and spacing, with teams averaging about 18 3-point attempts per game compared to 2 to 3 in 1980. The 1979 hand-check ban didn't consistently hold, but the principle was maintained by 2010's stricter enforcement. The illegal defense tech rule was lost by 2010 as zones became allowed. The 3-ref idea was gained back permanently in 1988. The backboard rule became moot with breakaway rims. Other 1979-80 tweaks included eliminating the 10-second backcourt reset on out of bounds. If the defense deflected the ball, the count continued, a rule maintained by 2010. The 1981-82 season saw detailed illegal defensive alignment guidelines issued to stamp out zone alignments and clarify what defenses could and couldn't do. For example, a weak side defender could not linger in the 16-foot outside lane indefinitely, but not in the 12-foot paint lane more than 2.9 seconds unless actively guarding someone. You could not double-team a player without the ball from the weak side. The first illegal defense violation would just reset the shot clock, but subsequent violations became a technical free throw plus possession. These rules aim to prevent pseudo-zones and keep the game oriented toward man-to-man battles. Also in 1981, the NBA adopted breakaway spring-loaded rims, league-wide, for safety. These illegal defense rules, designed to ensure man-to-man play, remained in place through the 80s and 90s. However, by 2010, these specific guidelines were gone, replaced by the allowance of zone defenses and the defensive 3-second rule in 2001. Breakaway rims, on the other hand, were standard in 2010. The 3-to-make-2 free throw gimmick was also eliminated in 1981 to 82, streamlining foul shooting to the modern standard, which was fully maintained into 2010. 1983 focused on league structure and integrity. The playoffs expanded from 12 to 16 teams, 8 per conference, starting with the 1984 postseason, with the first round becoming best of 5 and no buys. Cash included in trades was capped at $300,000 to prevent rich teams from effectively buying players. A lifetime ban policy was introduced for convictions involving heroin or cocaine, with reinstatement possible after 2 years. By 2010, the 16-team playoff structure was standard, though the first round had become best of 7 in 2003. The principle of limiting cash in trades was maintained, though the amount was adjusted over time. The strict anti-drug stance helped clean the league's image and was maintained in spirit through 2010's even more comprehensive CBA policies. In 1984, the NBA implemented its first salary cap system for the 1984-85 season to promote competitive balance. The 2-3-2 finals format was also approved, starting in 1985, to reduce travel. Additionally, the breakaway foul rule was defined. If a defender fouled a player from behind on a clear fast break with no play on the ball, the penalty became 2 free throws plus possession. This was an early version of the clear path foul. Timeouts in overtime were increased from 2 to 3, and fines for leaving the bench during fights or improperly were increased. The salary cap stabilized the NBA and was a core part of 2010 operations. The 2-3-2 finals format lasted until 2013, so it was in effect in 2010. The clear path foul rule, aimed at maintaining the integrity of fast breaks, was still in effect and highly valued in 2010. The early steps in curbing bench-clearing incidents evolved into much stricter rules by 2010. In 1985, the NBA introduced the draft lottery to stop tanking, with all non-playoff teams entering a random drawing for top picks. The 2-3-2 finals format, decided in 1984, began this year. The breakaway foul, early clear path, 2 free throws plus possession, was also formally added. The draft lottery fundamentally altered team incentives and, though modified over the years, was maintained in 2010. The 2-3-2 finals format was also maintained through 2010. The spirit of the breakaway foul rule was fully maintained in 2010's clear path rules. Around 1987, tougher penalties for flagrant fouls were introduced. By the 1988-89 season, the NBA permanently expanded officiating crews to 3 referees per game. This was due to the league's financial robustness and the need for better officiating in a faster, more athletic game. By 2010, 3 officials were the norm, significantly improving officiating accuracy and game management. Effective for the 1989-90 season, the Trent Tucker rule was implemented. If there is less than 0.3 seconds on the clock, a player cannot get off a normal catch and shoot. Only a tip-in or immediate alley-oop is allowed. This rule was also maintained in 2010, ensuring fairness in last-second plays. The 1990-91 season saw the introduction of a formal flagrant foul rule with 2 severity categories. A flagrant 1 foul was defined as excessive contact not severe enough for ejection, penalized with 2 free throws and possession for the fouled team, but the fouling player stayed in the game. A flagrant 2 foul involved violent or potentially injurious contact, resulting in automatic ejection, 2 free throws, possession, and an automatic fine with possible suspension. This system was designed to curtail dangerous play. By 2010, the flagrant 1 and 2 system was still firmly in place, with the addition of a points accumulation system for repeat offenders and replay reviews to determine severity. This significantly reduced dangerous fouls and improved player safety. By 1993, the NBA escalated its campaign against on-court violence. A flagrant foul points system was introduced. Flagrant 1 earned 1 point, flagrant 2 earned 2 points. Accumulating more than 5 points in a season or 3 in playoffs led to automatic suspension. Additionally, any player not in the game who left the bench area during an altercation faced automatic ejection and suspension. Team fines and penalties for team officials entering the court during fights were also instituted. These measures significantly reduced fights and dirty play. By 2010, leaving the bench was taboo, and the flagrant point system remained in effect, shaping a more controlled game environment. The mid-1990s saw efforts to boost offense. In the 1994-95 season, the three-point line was shortened to a uniform 22 feet all around. This experiment lasted until the 1996-97 season. Hand-checking was eliminated on the perimeter from the backcourt end line to the opposite foul line. A player fouled while attempting a three-point shot would now receive 3 free throws if the shot missed. The clear path foul rule was expanded to include fouls in the backcourt. Fines for taunting and technicals were increased. The shortened three-point line boosted attempts and percentages but was reverted in 1997. By 2010, the line was back to its original distance. The hand-check crackdown was a key step towards 2010's even stricter rules. Awarding 3 free throws for three-point fouls became standard and was maintained. The clear path expansion was also maintained. 1996 itself saw no major rule changes. Minor adjustments included a technical foul plus loss of possession for calling a timeout with none remaining, and illegal defense not being called while the ball was in the backcourt. The shortened three-point line was still in effect for its final season. In the 1997-98 season, the three-point line was moved back out to its original 23 feet 9 inches, 22 feet in corners. The no-charge zone, or restricted area, a half circle with a 4-foot radius under the basket, was introduced. A defender inside this arc could not draw a charging foul. Furthermore, a defender could not use his forearm to impede an offensive player facing the basket in the front court. Illegal defense rules were also slightly loosened, allowing one defender to zone up 2 weak-side offensive players in some cases. The restoration of the original three-point line distance was maintained through 2010. The restricted area was also maintained, significantly improving player safety and encouraging offensive drives. The hand-check forearm rule was another step towards the stricter enforcement seen by 2010. The illegal defense tweak was a precursor to the 2001 allowance of zones. For the 1999-2000 season, after the lockout-shortened 99 season, the hand-check ban was reinforced. A defender could not make contact with hands or forearms on an offensive player facing the basket above the free throw line extended. The 5-second back-to-basket violation was implemented, meaning an offensive player could not dribble with their back to the basket for more than 5 seconds below the free throw line extended. The shot clock would now reset to 14 seconds, not 24, for certain defensive violations or fouls if the shot clock was below 14. Illegal defense rules were further loosened. By 2010, the hand-check ban was even stronger. The 5-second back-down rule was in effect, discouraging slow post-ups. The 14-second reset for certain violations was maintained. The specific illegal defense concept from this era was gone by 2010, replaced by zone allowance. Around the 1999-2000 season, the back-down 5-second violation was introduced. For the 2001 season, a comprehensive timeout overhaul occurred. Total timeouts were cut from 7 to 6 per team, fourth-quarter timeouts from 4 to 3, and teams were limited to only 2 timeouts in the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter or overtime, down from 3. Most full timeouts were shortened from 100 seconds to 60 seconds. Both teams could substitute freely in 20-second timeouts during the last 2 minutes, and either a full or 20-second timeout could advance the ball after a change of possession in the last 2 minutes. By 2010, the 5-second backdown rule was fully ingrained, and the timeout reforms from 2000 were in place, speeding up endgames. The 2001-2 season marked a sweeping rule change. The league eliminated the illegal defense guidelines entirely, effectively legalizing zone defenses for the first time since 1947. In its place, the defensive 3-second rule was introduced, prohibiting a defender from standing in the paint for more than 3 seconds unless actively guarding an opponent. Additionally, the time to advance the ball past half-court was reduced from 10 seconds to 8 seconds. Brief contact by a defender was clarified as acceptable only if it did not impede the ball handler's progress. For the 2002-3 season, instant replay review for last-second shots was introduced. By 2010, zone defenses were a regular part of the game, the defensive 3-second rule was in effect, and the 8-second backcourt rule was standard. Replay for buzzer beaters was routine and had been expanded. In 2003, the NBA expanded the first round of playoffs from best-of-5 to best-of-7. This made all 4 rounds best-of-7, aiming for revenue and fairness, as a longer series is more likely to determine the superior team. By 2010, this format was completely normalized and maintained. The 2004-5 season saw a major initiative to open up the game. Hand-checking was effectively completely outlawed on the perimeter through stricter enforcement. Any contact impeding a dribbler was to be called a foul. Defensive 3-second violations were to be called more rigorously, and block charge calls leaned in favor of the offensive player on close calls. Heavy suspensions were emphasized for fights, notably after the Malice at the Palace. Instant replay use was further standardized for calls like foul, no foul, at the buzzer and scoring corrections. A penalty for having too many players on the court was also introduced. Scoring and pace jumped significantly. By 2010, these freedom of movement rules were defining for the game's style, leading to a more perimeter-oriented and offense-friendly era. Replay use was an accepted part of game endings. The start of the 2006-7 season saw the NBA introduce a new microfiber composite basketball, replacing traditional leather. Players complained about its feel, grip, and even cuts on their fingers. After about 2 months, on January 1, 2007, the NBA reverted to the old leather ball. Also in 2006-7, the penalty for a clear path foul was increased from 1 free throw plus possession to 2 free throws plus possession, further discouraging intentional fouls to stop fast breaks. Minor tweaks included free substitution in 20-second timeouts and coaches being able to call timeouts from the sideline. By 2010, the leather ball was firmly back. The stricter clear path foul rule was maintained, helping keep fast breaks exciting. The minor timeout and substitution changes were also maintained. By 2008, the league continued to refine rules with technology. In 2007-8, replay was allowed to review flagrant fouls and player altercations. In 2008-9, replay was extended to check if a field goal was a 2-pointer or 3-pointer, and for game clock malfunctions in late-game situations. The clear path foul definition was clarified to cover fouls even in the backcourt. In 2009, the replay center gained power for some immediate signals, e.g., 2/3 point calls, shot clock issues. By 2010, these replay provisions made officiating more accurate, especially in crunch time. The game by 2010 was a dynamic, high-scoring affair. Key characteristics included the integral 3-point shot, no hand-checking allowing freedom of movement, legal zones with a defensive 3-second rule, 3 officials, 16-team playoffs with all rounds best-of-7, expanded replay use, a faster pace with an 8-second backcourt rule, and stricter safety rules. By 2012, flopping was a concern. For the 2012-13 season, an anti-flopping rule was instituted. Post-game video review could lead to warnings and escalating fines. Around 2011-12, the rip-through move to draw fouls was reclassified. If not a legitimate shooting motion, it became a common foul, no shooting foul unless in bonus. The anti-flopping rule had mixed results but provided a deterrent. The rip-through change was maintained, reducing cheap free throws. In 2015, playoff seeding became purely by regular season record 1 through 8 per conference, regardless of division titles. Head-to-head record became the first tiebreaker. This improved fairness in playoff matchups and has been maintained. In 2016, to curb hack-a-shack strategies, the away-from-play foul rule, 1 free throw plus possession, was extended to the last 2 minutes of any quarter. Any deliberate foul before the ball was inbounded also incurred this penalty. Dangerous or excessively hard, intentional fouls could be deemed flagrant. These changes reduced intentional fouls and improved game flow, especially at the end of quarters, and have been maintained. In the 2017-18 season, to improve pace and flow, total timeouts were cut to 14, 7 per team, and all timeouts became a uniform 75 seconds. Teams were limited to a maximum of 2 timeouts in the final 3 minutes of the fourth quarter. In overtime, teams got only 2 timeouts. Halftime was set at 15 minutes sharp, and free throw shooters could not wander beyond the 3-point line between attempts. These changes resulted in smoother endgames and slightly shorter overall game length and have been maintained. In the 2019-20 season, the coach's challenge was introduced on a trial basis, now permanent. Each coach could challenge 1 call per game related to personal fouls, out of bounds, or goaltending basket interference, requiring an available timeout. The replay center was also empowered to trigger more reviews directly. This added a layer of strategy and fairness and has been maintained and refined.